Hi everyone, it's Susan Walsh here at Classification Guru. I am testing out my LinkedIn Live for the very first time. I am live from my data den. I'm hoping to have some guests come and join me just to pop in and say hello and tell me a little bit about themselves. I don't know if anyone will even see this or be able to watch this, but I am going to chat away. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I am the fixer of dirty data. And what does that mean? Well, I classify spend data. So I help companies see exactly what they're spending their money on so that they can make cost savings. Now, you might think that sounds like a really simple thing to do, but trust me, it's way more complicated than that. Every single data set I've ever seen is very different and no two sets are the same. And it's, hi, Afalabi. Yay, I have someone watching. This is so exciting. So I will go through tens or thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of rows of data and classify it. But I've got a guest as well. Oh, how exciting. Hello. Hello, it's Andrew Jones. How are you?
I'm good. I've just appeared out of nowhere.
This is very exciting. Do you want to just tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just going to be like, it's Diane. Hi, Diane. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm Andrew Jones. I am a data scientist by trade, although not anymore. Now I'm creating Data Science Infinity, which is what I call a better way to learn data science. So I've in over the past 6 or 7 months, I've been interviewing hundreds of leaders and hiring managers and recruiters and key stakeholders in the field of data science and asking them, what is it that makes a good data scientist? What is it that makes a great data scientist? And I've distilled all that down into what is Data Science Infinity, which is an online program for learning data science where you get, essentially, if I was to boil it down, you get to learn the right content, you learn it in the right way, and you get unlimited support and guidance along the journey. So there's no promise of learn data science in 5 days or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It needs to be accepted that this is a lifelong learning journey, and there are things you need to learn before you learn other things. And that's what I'm doing. So a lot of my time at the moment spent helping the students in the program at the moment. And there's this amazing bunch of students who are in there at the moment. And I'm also creating a free Python and data science and machine learning mini course. So I'm recording and editing that at the moment. So that's what's keeping me occupied.
Brilliant. It's actually really nice and refreshing to hear, because I always talk about there's no magic button when it comes to data classification. It's the same with learning. You have to put in the hard work and test and fail and then succeed.
Absolutely.
Your course has had some really great feedback and reviews, and
it has, which is very rewarding for me, because I spent such a long time putting the hard work in, creating all of this content, and obviously it was based on feedback. It's not just my opinion on what you should learn, which is a lot of what is being shouted to people who are coming into the industry, and that makes it very hard. So I knew that the topics were relevant and were appropriate, but you're creating content for other people to learn, and that's quite a big responsibility in a way, right? Especially when you're charging money for people to have that. And so I've had some really, really good feedback coming in, which has been really rewarding and really, really fulfilling for me.
So I'm at some point when I have some time, when I'm not writing a book and not doing my clients' work, would like to do a course as well. But it's that thing of what if nobody likes what I say, or what if everyone thinks that I'm just talking rubbish, so I do get that. But it looks great. And we've been talking about this, you've got some really great insights from speaking to people, and this is, for me, this is like the most fascinating bit, so if you've got any that you can share with us.
Well, I mean, this is I was talking to you and a few other people the other day, Susan, and so I mentioned it before, but the course content of Data Science Infinity is not just me saying, here's what I think you should learn. It's based on me going out and talking to people, people who are leaders in the field, people who are hiring data scientists as we speak, and recruiters as well was a big part, because they are almost this middleman, this barrier between the data science candidate and, getting their bum in the seat of, a data science role. They're this barrier or this gauntlet that they need to get through. So I've talked to all of these people. And that was the premise of Data Science Infinity. But when I talked to you the other day, you said, I didn't know that. And to me, that was like, wow, I need to be telling people about this. So what I'm going to be doing for the next few weeks is, and probably further than that, is I'm going to be boiling down the key insights that I did find out, which went into what Data Science Infinity teaches. But I'm going to be sharing some of the sort of summarized insights around everything from the skills that people need to learn, the experiences people are looking for, the concepts and the techniques that people are using or not using so much in practice. And then a lot around interviewing as well, because that's a really interesting part of it. You can be super clever and super, have a really good set of knowledge and skills, but you need to be able to sell that value to interviewers to get past the recruiter, to get past the hiring manager into a role. And that can be a struggle to convey that value. So I'll try and boil all of those down into something nice and easy to digest on LinkedIn. And then I'm thinking after I've done that, I might create a full sort of PDF document, which you can download, which will contain all of them.
Yeah.
So that's in the pipeline as well. A lot of plates are spinning at the moment.
That is exciting stuff, but I think it's true. And this happened with me as well. For a long time just assumed that people knew what I did. People in the industry that knew. And actually, as soon as I started doing posts about what is a taxonomy, what is classification, even people within the industry didn't know. And they were like, oh, okay, yeah, great. And so actually, sometimes we feel like we're sharing something that might be obvious to us, but actually it's not to other people. So it's great to have the kind of the numbers behind it, if you will. You've spoken to these people, you know what they're looking for, and some people who, there's a lot of people out there at the moment who are really, really trying so hard to get jobs. And Stroops, if you're on there, I think earlier, big up to you. He's looking for a procurement job at the moment, interim. So if anyone's out there looking for an awesome person, Michael Struble, it's, anything that you can, any help you can get, and anything that you can do to make yourself stand out is so helpful right now.
Absolutely. And it's not what I've found from talking about this stuff to people as well. It's not just, say, aspiring data scientists that want this information. When you're a hiring manager or you're interviewing people, it's nice to know how other people are interviewing data scientists. It sort of reassures you that you're going about it the right way, because a lot of people are in the unfortunate position of not being super technical, but having to interview technical candidates, and that's quite difficult. And knowing how other people are going about that, or what they're asking, or how they differentiate between a strong candidate and one that's less suited for the role, that's quite difficult. So I've had a lot of feedback from people saying they would love to get their hands on this information. So I will be sharing, like I say, nuggets of it over the next few weeks, and then I'll try and compile it into something bigger.
I'm just looking here. This is amazing. We have got so many people from so many different places. We've got Guildford, but I can't see who that is. I have got, you're killing it, Andrew from Revit. We've got San Diego, we've got New York, Argentina, Annapolis. I mean, this is cool. We've got people from all over. This is great. So hi, everybody. Have you got any questions for either myself or Andrew, either if it's looking for a job or dirty data questions, or, how did we get into data? And actually, just thinking about it, I haven't had to have a job interview for such a long time. I don't think I'd pass any of the interviews anymore, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one, isn't it? A job interview. It's this odd situation where you go into a room with a stranger and their primary job is to test you. I mean, it's never going to be a comfortable situation, but that's something I teach in the course as well. I've been very fortunate in my time to have interviewed and screened a lot of data science candidates, and I try and again boil that down to how can you turn it from something which seems really uncomfortable into something more natural, because when it is more natural and you can think more clearly about selling your value rather than trying to remember all of these concepts and techniques and bits of code. Don't worry too much about that. Try and sell you and try and sell the value. And because when I've been interviewing people, that's what, as a hiring manager, as an interviewer, you want to see. You want to be able to picture this person coming into your team and adding value and solving your problems, rather than, knowing that they know 20 machine learning algorithms.
Yeah.
Sure, that's great. But I need to be able to visualize you sitting next to me solving the problems to make me look good, or to make the team look good, or at the end of the day to make the company money, right? Because in 95% of the cases, that's what it is at the end of the day. How can you help make us more money? So it's an awkward situation, but there are ways to definitely sell yourself better to people.
Yeah. Marcia Michelle Braga is asking, would you refuse a perfect candidate due to visa status? Or is that something you've ever come up? I guess that's...
I've personally not had to deal with it too much. So I've just been in, a lot of my interviewing experiences here in London, and because there's such a wealth of candidates in London, I've not really had to deal with it, unfortunately. So I don't have too much advice around that. Sorry.
I just know from when I've worked in corporates, and even from internally, they've wanted to move to another country. Getting a visa can be tricky. So I'm sure it's not necessarily the hiring manager's opposition to it, but just the paperwork involved in it, I think, is going to kind of slow you up.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is a good one. Good interviews are a conversation. I think that's really true, because you get the real personality behind someone coming out. I remember back in my early career when I was still trying to get into sales, I failed the sell me a pen interview.
Yeah.
I sold him a pen the wrong way.
Yeah.
But again, based on that one interview, I was rejected, and I had probably limitless potential, but because I didn't have that skill already, it was just completely disregarded.
Yeah, and that sorry, Susan, carry on.
No, I was just going to say, so that's what it's going to be like with data science as well. You might not have solved all the problems yet, because if you've just come out of university, then it's all going to be new to you.
Yeah, and that point that you just raised about interviews should be a conversation. That's not only true to think of as a candidate going into an interview. You want to be trying to convey your message clearly, but I wish more interviewers thought that too, because in data science especially, I hear so many horror stories of data science candidates going into an interview and all they're being asked is just some bullet point questions like, what's the difference between a logistic regression and a support vector machine in this particular scenario? And then when they actually find out more about the role, that sort of thing would never ever be needed to be applied. And all they're doing is they're finding a question online, or they've heard another person's asked this question, and they think that will differentiate a good data scientist from a great data scientist. But unless there's a specific need for that, that very niche use case, I wish people would be more broad in terms of how they're interviewing. Try to uncover the problem solving ability that this person have. Try to uncover their communication skills. Try to uncover their growth mindset. Are they able to continue learning? Are they passionate about this industry? Because if they are passionate, there's going to be no end to their abilities. Whereas if they're just somebody who knows the maths or knows the code or knows 20 machine learning algorithms, but they're not looking to solve problems, they're just looking to get from A to B, then that's not as beneficial to you. So I wish that these interviews were a broader conversation about the, not only the technical skills, they're clearly very important, but also a bit more focus on the softer skills, because those are the ones that will really help you add value and sell that value into the business, I think.
Yeah. Many years ago when I worked in telesales, we started getting people in for like an hour or two just to shadow. And obviously in some industries there might be sensitive data issues and things, but you can't pretend for that amount of time. So the real you comes out. So that was a really good way, not just for us to see if they were the right fit, but for them to find out what the office culture was like, what the job was really like, not just what we said it was, but actually see someone do it. And I always thought that worked really well, because you get a much better feel for if it's going to work or not. But do you think that's possible within data science?
I think so. I think it should. There's no doubt that the technical skills are required. So I did a lot of the interviewing, which I've done at Amazon, and I really like the way that they construct their interview process. And to be honest, it's quite similar across the board. They will test your technical skills, and that will be one of the first things they do. And if you meet the sort of core requirements of the role, then you'll go into the broader interview arena, almost, where you're tested more around the leadership principles, which are Amazon's core qualities across the board, which they honestly follow like a religion at Amazon, and it's why it's such a successful beast of a business. But it's not all about can you do all of this stuff now. It's do you have the ability to do these things which will solve our problems, and can you be creative with the data? Can you be creative with the algorithms? You may not have done the specific thing that we're looking to do next, but then who has? Maybe some people, but you're going to be doing A, and then you're going to do B, and then you're going to do C, and they're all going to be different. Have you got that flexibility and that adaptability and that creative mindset that can solve all of these problems, and in a way where you can communicate that to all of the people that need to understand what's going on, and somebody like a marketing manager who essentially owns the customers, which your algorithm is then going to influence. Are they going to be able to trust what you've done because you've either been able to explain it to them and they're happy enough with what's going to happen, or they understand what's going to happen, or have you built some super complex thing which you can't really explain to them in words they understand, and therefore they're not willing to take that risk, so therefore it sits on the shelf and it doesn't get used, and therefore you're not adding any business value. And that's what I go on and on and on about this, but always try and think about the business value first, and then form appropriate data science solutions from there, but not the other way around.
Sounds great. Here we go. What advice can you share for folks switching careers? She's newly graduated, means you're a student, but that should not matter, with a master's in data science, but no real life experience, only from studies. A lot of people, I guess, are in that position.
Yeah, there are, because data science is such a popular field. There are so many people coming into it. One of the popular ways to do that, or the more common ways to do that, is to build a portfolio of projects, and that's really a way to demonstrate the value that you can bring. And it's the same thing I was saying before, whether it's experience from a company, or if it's experience from projects which you can find online and then do, and then showcase your abilities because you haven't had a specific role that you can call on. Treat it the same way. So if you, and this is a really simple example, but the classic machine learning task, when you're getting into data science or machine learning, is the Titanic classification task, where you're trying to predict who will survive or not survive on the Titanic. And while you may not use this particular project as an illustration,
I'm not even in this world, and I've heard of this Titanic.
Yeah, but if you're looking to sell yourself to a hiring manager or to a recruiter, don't just think of that or whatever project you do as, I'm going to build a model and get a classification accuracy score, and there you go, I got 91% classification accuracy. Try and put it in terms of a real world business problem, and this sounds a bit silly, but it sounds a bit silly. Sorry, don't think about it as the Titanic problem. Think of it as like a luxury shipping company needs a predictive model to help them understand the risk in event of a disaster. I'm sort of making this up a little bit, but think of it as a problem that a business would have, and then work through that problem from inception right through to the conclusion, and go beyond the thing, beyond classification accuracy. Think about the impact this would have on the business or the customer, and whether it's in your portfolio, or whether it's on your CV, or whether it's something you're talking about in an interview. Those are the types of things that people want to hear. And even though you've done maybe it's quite a simple project from a machine learning point of view, you're showcasing the way of thinking right from the start to an end of a project. And that's how things work in the real world. They don't work in isolation. There's not just, I built a predictive model and here's the result. And then, this also touches on what you do, Susan, from that, the data cleaning point of view. That's huge for data scientists.
Yeah, they might not be used to untidy data.
Exactly. So, even if the data set you're using is not really messy or complex, still touch on those points and mention why they should be considered and the impact they can have, because this, you want to be selling yourself to people based on real world scenarios. And even though you're sort of fabricating them using some mock data or some sort of like, I don't know what the word is, like no, I guess they're just not completely real case studies. You can showcase your way of thinking in a real world environment by just thinking about it as a real business problem.
Yeah. Something else that I've done, I'm not sure how available it will be, but when I started out, I was on all the freelancer websites, so Upwork, Elance, People Per Hour, and just tried to pick up any experience and bid for jobs at like ridiculously low amount of money, but just to get some experience. So, get on the websites and just see what kind of jobs are out there, and see if that's something that you could do, and and then at least you've got something on your CV, or
and
who knows what it might open doors to as well. That's the other thing.
And charities as well. They're starting to collect their data now, and if you can go in and maybe you don't ask for any money, but there's some small projects you can do. Again, that's real world experience with, I'm sure, messy data, which you can then clean and then look to do something clever, or not necessarily clever, something simple which has a huge impact is probably the best possible thing you could do. But if you can find scenarios where you can work on real things, that's perfect.
Got a question here from Ramola. She wants to know if there's any categories of data classification other than security and taxonomy. So I just wanted to address that, because taxonomy is not a classification. Taxonomy is the file that you use to classify the data. So unless you're talking about file security, which is a different type of classification to the spend data classification I work with, in which case I don't know that answer, I'm afraid. So if you could let us know if you're talking about file confidentiality classification. I personally specialize in spend data classification, so that's more financial data. So if people want to know how many pens, pencils, paper clips they're buying, I can classify that for them and show them. Let's see what else we've got here. So we've got Paul, who's asking and posting about fixing data. What do I recommend to fix the source? Well, I think ultimately it's the person who's entering the data that is the true source of the issue. So if we can start to get people to realize that the information they put in is really important, not just to them, but to their colleague down the line who might have to spend 2-3 hours fixing something because they didn't put it in the right column in the first place, then I think we get more engagement with better quality data. And then, of course, we can always tell them to get their coat on as well. So make sure it's consistent, organised, accurate and trustworthy. But if that is not possible, then I work with software called Omniscope, which is data modeling and visualization. I don't know what you think about that, Andrew.
I've not used tools like Omniscope, to be honest, but I know from what you were saying around the source of the data, it is showcasing to the people who have put that logic in why that causes so many downstream issues, perhaps. Because something like entering your state in the US, for example, if it's just an open text box, you're going to get 10,000 different possible answers in there, and there are not 10,000 different states. So if you can just showcase what the cost of that is in terms of maybe time and in terms of money downstream, then that's a pretty good illustration of why they need to fix it. Or if you're in a business, it can show where the priority needs to be, that this is a priority because it's going to cause ABC downstream, I guess.
There's also this whole myth that you could just buy some software and that will fix everything. I think we've got to stop peddling that. And yes, it can help, but you still need a bit of elbow grease, manual work to get in there and to fix it. So software will only do so much for you. But thanks very much for your questions. Let's see. looking at shouldn't we all get some data science skills? I think that's a good question. I think it's intimidating to a lot of people who are non-technical. So I think if we can make it as friendly and relatable as possible, then yes.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, the amount of things in the world that are being driven by machine learning, or at least involve some level of machine learning or data science behind the scenes, is growing and growing and growing. So understanding that at its core is quite interesting, but it's also quite important, because it's nice to know why you're being recommended something on Netflix or Amazon. That's quite interesting, but it's becoming more and more commonplace. So understanding that's quite a good thing to do. This is almost the premise behind why I'm doing the free Python data science machine learning mini course, which is literally 3 hours on a weekend that you'll spend. It's very high level, but I want you to see that this is all within your reach, because so many people, and it's aimed at professionals, but it's not necessarily only for professionals, but a lot of people that I'm talking to are saying they're seeing this rise in data science and machine learning, but they're not quite sure how to get a little bit closer to it, because it does seem quite intimidating.
Yeah.
So I want people to understand that it is within their reach, and there's a lot of content which sort of explains A and explains B, but I want to go one step further and actually show people that this can be quite fun. So in the course we install Python, which is easy enough to do, and then we learn the fundamentals of Python in 10 minutes. That you could talk about Python for months without getting to the end of what you can do in Python.
Yeah.
So we do that in 15 minutes. So we just touch the surface, but in a fun and interesting way. And then
I think I need to do this, because I tried learning Python a few years ago, but it was very much just read the text, and then I just got stuck, and I was like, I don't have anyone to ask any questions to. I can't even watch someone do it on screen and then learn from it. So something like this actually for me would be perfect, because I don't need to be an expert in it, because there's plenty of people out there. I'll still stay as the classification guru, but it would be nice to just be able to dabble in it a little bit, and understand it more.
And that's what I want people to do. This isn't to. There's no way in 3 hours we can cover much. So it's about whetting people's appetite, and it's about showing them that this stuff is within their reach. This is something you can do. But if somebody just helps you get to the first stage and explains a few things to you, then you'll feel more confident and empowered to go and learn more.
Yeah.
So we learn Python, and then we learn a little bit about pandas for data exploration and manipulation, which is one of the really common tasks that a data scientist or data analyst will do day in, day out. And then we do like a mini project where we code up finding all the prime numbers between 2 and 1 million, and that's like 8 lines of code, but it shows you why you might use different data structures, again at a very high level. But this is the stuff which is super dry when you're learning Python, like the difference between a list, a set, a tuple, and a dictionary. It's like, oh, this is so boring when you're learning it, but if you learn about it while you're building something, that's kind of interesting. And then we go and we learn a little bit about machine learning, and then we build the machine learning model to predict a problem. So it kind of touches on all of those things, but it'll take you 3 hours on a weekend.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll feel really empowered that you can do this. And if you want to go and learn more, you can, and I can help you with that. If you don't, then you've built a couple of cool things you can go and tell your family and friends about. I built a machine learning model on the weekend. That's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, I have to write my book as well, but that's a whole other thing. So we've been on for a wee while, so I will fire one more question at you and then leave you in peace.
Can you give a simple example of how Python can be used as opposed to a database with SQL? I'm not quite sure exactly what how Python can be used as opposed to a database with SQL.
So using it instead of? I mean,
at a super high level. I may have missed the point of the question. I may well be missing the point of this question, and sorry, Paul, if I have. So at a very high level, SQL is just working with relational databases, so columns and rows, and you're just grabbing subsets of the rows or the columns, and you can obviously do slightly more complex things than that, whereas Python's more of a programming language where you can do virtually anything in it. You can build websites, you can iterate through data structures, and you can give different instructions, based on certain conditions. You can do all of this different stuff. I may have completely missed the point of the question. Sorry, I didn't quite understand it. But Paul, if you want to message me to discuss it in more detail, then do.
There's a wee discussion going on there. Thanks so much for your time and keeping me company today.
Not a problem.
If people want to get hold of you, LinkedIn is probably the best place.
Yes, definitely.
Where else can they find you?
So LinkedIn is where you'll find me, and you'll be able to see my name in the chat here, or if you search me, it's Andrew Jones, and then I've got Data Science Infinity in my name at the moment because I'm advertising my data science program. So, but absolutely message me on LinkedIn. If you DM me, I will 100% get back to you.
Good answer, and then Paul saying.
Oh, cool. Maybe I didn't miss the point. And then, so if you're interested in learning data science, then if you head to my profile, you'll see stuff about the free course as well as the full Data Science Infinity course, which covers, like I mentioned at the beginning, covers everything you need to know in the right way, and then you get unlimited support and guidance for the whole journey. But please do get in touch. What was that? Sorry.
Have you got a YouTube channel?
I've just started one where I'm putting up my LinkedIn Live videos, but I'm not pushing that at the moment. So next year I will start pushing that a little bit more. Get in there first, people. Oh, great. Well, thank you very much for your time today, and I'm sure we will see you again. Thank you. Now I'm like, how do I get rid of you? in the nicest possible way. Is this it? Yeah, he's gone. Thank you. This is going to be me. In a few weeks, I am going to start live from the Data Den, and I'm going to have a whole host of people who are going to be coming on and talking to me about a range of different topics, not just data, not just procurement, but I'm going to get my coach on as well. We're going to talk about, health and well-being, mental health. So there's going to be a whole range of topics. So let me know what you'd like me to hear me talk about, or would you like me to have someone on the show? Let me know. And also, when's a good time for you guys? So I just kind of impromptu came on, but actually quite a few of you are watching. So maybe around this time on a Monday is quite good to kind of get the week going. I don't know. If you've got any suggestions, let me know. And I just say have a great day. Thanks so much for watching and commenting. It's been really great, and it's been a good first LinkedIn Live. So thanks very much. See you later.